Hi folks, welcome to We the People, my weekly show. Now you see on the screen behind me that I was running for New Mexico State Senate in District 37, but that has changed. It is now 3 days after the election. You know, how did we do? What happens now? Well, when I was around knocking on doors, when I was campaigning, the one fellow that I met last week, he was an older fella, and he said, I'm a Republican, he said, but I'm not voting anymore. I said, well, why aren't you voting anymore? And he said, well, he says, I don't trust the Republicans, I don't trust the Democrats. I said, well, I know how you feel. I said, that's why I'm running. I said, because I'm not happy with the system at all. So I said, well, okay, and then he broke in and he says, well, I can't stand Trump because he's a liar. I said, well, why is he a liar? What's going on there? And he said, well, he's telling us about the COVID-19, and that's not true. I said, well, I don't think you're getting the true story. I assume what he's watching is CNN and MSNBC, one of the main media outlets. And I said, you know, I don't think you're getting the truth. Our governor has shut down our state, but they're not telling you how many people die from COVID alone with no other underlying symptoms. So it's like, okay, if you're not getting the truth there, what else aren't you getting the truth about? Just about everything? Anyway, I talked to this fella for quite a while, and he didn't want any of my material that I was trying to give him. Finally, at the end of the conversation, I told him I was a Christian, constitutional, common sense conservative. And his vote did count, and does count. He finally took my material. Now, whether or not he voted, I don't know. And how he voted, I don't know that either. But it's so important that you folks vote. And if you didn't vote, and you're not happy with the outcome of this election, which I'm not happy, who do you have to blame? So, to give you an idea of what happens, okay, now I was running against Bill Soules. Now, Bill Soules has been the head of the legislature, the top legislator in the state for education. And we are the worst state in the nation. And he's been there for 8 years. He was the vice chair for 4 years, then the chairman for 4 years. So if you want to continue with this being the worst state in the nation in education, our children, well, then you voted correctly. But there's other things that's going to happen. He votes for late-term abortion, which I am pro-life, but it's not just pro-life and judging a woman. I want to support the woman, to let her know that there are alternatives. There are people that want to adopt her child, that want to help her emotionally, spiritually, physically. And if a woman does have an abortion, let's get her into counseling, because she's going to feel the effects come someday in the future. You also have a man-made climate change. This is a hoax. I have scientists that I'm going to have on this show later on that are going to prove with evidence, hard evidence, real scientists this is, that can prove that this man-made climate change is a hoax and has been a hoax. So you got the Democrats, they have their experts. You've got AOC, who was a waitress before she got into politics. You have Al Gore, who has made millions of dollars on his fake climate change hoax, and every prediction he's made has been wrong. You have Greta Wahlberg, I think it is, the 17-year-old girl that sails across the ocean. I'm sure she didn't do that, but it appeared that she did, who cries on TV to talk about how we're destroying the planet. These people are the experts that you folks are listening to? Come on now. We have real experts, real scientists that meet once a month at Pepe's. And if the producer would put my phone number up on the screen, I can tell you all about it, but you can go to the website. It's casf.me. That's Cruces Scientific, CASF, Cruces Atmospheric and Science Forum.me. And these folks will tell you what the true science is. Now give me a call and I'll connect you with these scientists, but I am going to have them on this show. There's Bernie McCune, Bob Endlich, Dave Tofstead. These folks have been in the industry, the scientific industry at White Sands, Los Alamos, I think it was, different, and military. So these are real scientists. So, okay, so my opponent, as well as all the other Democratic candidates, are going to be following the education system as it is, which is a bust. Our kids aren't being educated. They're being indoctrinated. And if you want to talk about higher education, I call that higher indoctrination. So they're all the Democrats are going to be for late-term abortion. To me, that's murder. They're going to talk about the climate change, man-made climate change, which is a hoax. They're going to talk about getting rid of fossil fuels, which actually, I think it's like 50% of our budget comes from the fossil fuel industry, and they want to shut it down. And they're going to tell you that, oh, well, that's okay because solar and wind are going to power us and it's going to be cheaper. Ridiculous, flat out lie. I'll have to bring next week, maybe I can bring in my video where I'm sitting on the roof of my house and I'm pointing to the solar panels behind me on my garage roof. Now get this. You folks federally paid for 1/3 of the cost of not only my solar panels, but my garage. This was an Obama administration deal. They're trying to promote the solar power industry. So any structure that supports the solar panels, which in my case, I built a 36 by 36 foot garage with a single slope roof so that it would face south and I would have my solar panels on it. So you folks paid $10,000 federally, your tax dollars, for my garage and my solar panels. And the state of New Mexico paid 10% of the cost of my solar panels, which comes out to about, you New Mexico taxpayers paying about $1,600 to me for my solar panels. Thank you very much. You see, that has to be subsidized. And if a business has to be subsidized by the government, it's not going to stand on its own. So you're constantly going to have to be subsidizing. And fossil fuels are clean no matter what they tell you. We've cleaned up fossil fuels so much that even a coal-powered plant, you wouldn't even know there was coal. And they're going to shut down the Four Corners area and put 450 people out of work. These are the Democrats that were voted for. Or, if you didn't vote, you allowed them to get into office. Your vote is very important, folks, very important. Also, the Democrats continue to tax your Social Security. I get Social Security. I don't want them taking my money. They're going to continue to do that. When I was on a debate with Bill Soules, I said, no Social Security tax. Bill Soules said, well, it's not that simple. Well, yes, it is that simple. He said that people that make over a certain amount of money should be taxed for their Social Security. It's like, what? These people paid into that Social Security, no matter how much money they make. Who do you think you are taking their money away from them? No. So these are the people that are going to be in office now, if this was a fair and honest election, which I'm not sure of that. I'll get to that in a little bit. But you're also going to find all the Democrats are in lockstep with the governor when she said, shut down the state because of COVID-19. What they don't tell you is the number of people that have died from COVID alone with no other underlying symptoms. The recovery rate from COVID-19 is 99.9 some percent. Very few people die as a result of COVID-19 if you're treated properly. And that's another thing. They're not telling you, they're not allowing you to have the medications that can save your life. And I'll guarantee if a Democrat got COVID-19, somehow on the black market, they'd get hydroxychloroquine, zinc, and erythromycin. When you do that early on, and I'm not sure if your doctors can prescribe it or not now, but the government doesn't want you touching it. They don't want you to be treated until you're in the hospital. By that time, it's too late for that mix, and you're probably going to die because you haven't been taken care of up front. And I'll guarantee they're going to find that cure. The Democrats are going to find that cure. But they don't want anybody else to know that. So these are the people that are going to be in office if it turns out that it was a fair and honest election, which it's not a fair and honest election, but if it's certified by our Secretary of State, who I don't trust anyway. So we did have a few winners. And when I say a few winners, we have some conservatives that did get into office. Now, Yvette Herrell, she was cheated out of her election last time she ran against Sochi Small. Well, Sochi's out and Yvette's in, unless they find some way to try and cheat her again and get away with it, which I don't think they're going to be able to do it because there was such a landslide amount of votes for Yvette Herrell. So she's in. Crystal Diamond, who is, she's a Senate seat, New Mexico State Senate seat 35. Luis Terrazas, he was a House seat 39. He got in, and I believe Rick Little is that far away from getting the election. He was against Willie Madrid, who, from what I understand, done absolutely nothing while he was working for District 53, House District 53, my district. I didn't see any work from him. But I know Rick Little will work hard for you. Hopefully, Rick will be able to pull this out because he's challenging the votes. It was so close. So the Democrats want a welfare state. They want to guarantee their votes by people that are on the dole that have to look to the government to keep them going. The Republicans want a business-friendly state to find jobs for people. I don't want to give people a handout. I want to give them a hand up in the form of jobs. What's better than jobs? You'll have a man that will be able to stand up proud in his own home if he's making his own money, supporting his family, and he doesn't need the government. He shouldn't need the government. When I was a policeman, how long ago was that? Well, when I started out in 1971 in Philadelphia, I was on the street for about 10 years before I got into the Marine unit as a diver. But the 10 years I spent on the street, I saw generational welfare. These men, although they were prolific, they would have sex, and there was a lot of kids around in North Philly where I worked. And the mothers would have to raise them, or the grandmothers. But the men were getting drunk on doorsteps, drinking cheap wine, because they were on the welfare system. They didn't have jobs. There were a few enterprising men that would go out and pick up trash and get soda bottles, get the return money for the soda bottles, would pick up scraps that they could sell. But that was few and far between. For the most part, there weren't jobs available. And that's so sad. During that time, our race relations started getting better because in '71, it was right after the Watts riots in California, the New York riots. Philadelphia was going to riot, but we had a mayor that was a former police commissioner, Frank Rizzo, who I met. Heck of a guy. He was a real general. The Black Panthers were trying to riot on Columbia Avenue in North Philly. There's a famous picture. Look it up. Frank Rizzo. He's got a tuxedo on. He was a big Italian. Tuxedo on with a nightstick in his cummerbund. He told the police department, I wasn't on at that time, but he told the police department, take off your frontispiece, which is your badge number across your hat, take off your nameplate, take off your badge, and make sure that they are stripped down to their underwear to make sure there's no weapons. March them into the police wagons and take them to the police administration building, and that's what they did. Frank Rizzo saved Philadelphia when other cities were burning. And you'll notice we have cities burning throughout the country now, and they're all democratically controlled. So I want you to realize what happened in this election. You now have Democratic-controlled cities that don't know how to handle riot conditions. They want to just pacify them. You're losing business. Well, first you lost businesses because of COVID-19, because the governor shut everything down. Now you have these cities that are burning because they don't know how to handle riot conditions. The police are being abused. They're being shot. People spit in their face. That didn't happen when I was on the street. There was plenty of respect back then. We didn't have this social disorder, this civil disorder. So these are the Democrats that are in control of your state, your city, and your county. Now, in Las Cruces, they don't call it a sanctuary city. They call it a welcoming city. But it's the same deal. They are hamstringing the hands or hamstringing the police so they can't do their job. So as a result, you're going to have more crime. The police aren't going to be protected. They're going to be easily be victimized by the system that they're trying to protect. So you're going to have police, and you already have it across the country. Policemen are saying, I don't need this job. You could be a garbage collector and make out better. Who the heck needs that stuff? I wouldn't be a cop today. I'd be in trouble if I was. But so these are the Democrats that have been elected. Whether, like I said, you either voted them in or you didn't vote. Either one, it's a bad deal. So let's see. Now that's locally. I was talking about locally as far as the winners and the losers we had. I don't consider myself a loser. I feel bad for the people that donated to my campaign and that helped with my campaign. But I know I did my best. And if you folks didn't elect me, you don't deserve me. Because I was going to work for 4 years for you for nothing and put my best effort forward. So, okay, We're going to take a short break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about nationally what the implications are of our elections or the failure of our elections. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Horizon Granite is here. We'll come to you to customize your kitchen and bathroom with beautiful countertops and cabinets. Find out more at horizongranite.com. Call us at 575-650-3180.
Horizon Granite is here.
It's here.
Make yourself a beautiful home.
Hi, I'm Ray Bamberg with Here on Earth. I would like to invite you for a free hearing evaluation to our office. We've been here in southern New Mexico for 34 years helping people hear better.
They've stormed beaches and freed countries. They've raised our flag and our hope. They've been called leathernecks. They've been called devil dogs. But above all, they're called Marines.
Hi, folks. Welcome back to We the People. I'm Dave Gallus. The sign behind me says I'm running for State Senate 37, but I'm not running anymore. The election was over 3 days ago, and I'm not happy with the results, and a lot of people aren't, but I have to wonder, did you vote? Did you vote for Democrats? You could be in trouble. But if either one of those two, you get what you did or didn't do, it's a result of not voting or voting the wrong way, in my opinion. So now we're going to talk nationally about the effects of the election. Now, the election is still unfolding nationally. We don't know who the president and vice president is going to be yet. From what I could tell, Trump should have won by a landslide, but you have corruption going on, and we have it going on right here in our county. There were 4 people that were legally overseers of the ballot, the absentee ballot counting at the warehouse, and they were actually thrown out because they were trying to do their job legally and be observers and check out things to make sure things are done on the up and up. The county clerk or the deputy county clerk had the sheriff come in and escort the people out. My belief is they should have stayed, and if it cost them being arrested, we'd have bailed them out, because they should have stood their ground because they were legally right. Now, it's still being processed, along with many, many states around the country, for their illegal practices in election fraud. So stay tuned to see what happens about that. But really what's going on, the hatred for our President Trump, it has been promoted by a complicit media, financed by corrupt globalists, and they're trying to have the criminal puppet, Joe Biden, and the pseudo-justice warrior, Kamala Harris, become the next president and vice president. This is what they want. You got news media blocking out any information about what's really going on, and they're propagandizing the hatred for Trump. Now, if people want to see what the truth is, you go to OANN, One American News Network, or you go to Newsmax. You should be able to get that on your TV or definitely on your computer. So, while they've created a hatred for Trump, they block the truth of his accomplishments, and even as he fights against the socialist Democrats, which rhinos and Trump haters, the Democratic Party has been hijacked by regressive socialists. So it's reminiscent of Nazi Germany. They had to label the Jews as vermin, as rats, so that they could eliminate them. Well, that's exactly what they're doing to the president. But I want to tell you something. I got a list of accomplishments of the president, and this was done in June. So I'm going to start reading to you until we run out of time. Trump recently signed 3 bills to benefit Native American people. One gives compensation to the Spokane tribe for a loss of their lands in the mid-1900s. One funds native language programs, and the third gives federal recognition to the Little Shell tribe of Chippewa Indians in Montana. Number 2, Trump finalized the creation of Space Force as our 6th military branch. Number 3, Trump signed a law to make cruelty to animals a federal felony so that animal abusers face tougher consequences. Democrats don't like that idea? Number 4, violent crime has fallen every year he's been in office after rising during the 2 years before he was elected. Now guess who was in office then? Barack Obama? Number 5, Trump signed a bill making CBD and hemp legal. This is a natural way to take away pain and heal the body. Trump's EPA gave $100 million to fix the water infrastructure problem in Flint, Michigan. Number 7, under Trump's leadership in 2018, the U.S. surpassed Russia and Saudi Arabia to become the world's largest producer of crude oil. The Democrats do not want us to be energy independent. That's why they're pushing oil, or pushing solar and wind and maybe geothermal. They don't want us to be independent because they want to make the deals like the Bidens do with Russia, an oil producer, maybe China. So you got to look behind the scenes here, folks, and think for yourself. The Democrats seem to follow this tunnel, and they can't see on either way. The problem with us Republicans are we're open-minded, we're free thinkers, and we do critical thinking. We think on our own, and we don't take everything at face value, no matter who's saying it. That's our weakness, but it's also our strength. Let's see. Number 8, Trump signed a law ending the gag orders on pharmacists that prevented them from sharing money-saving information. Number 9, Trump signed the Allow States and Victims to Fight Online Sex Trafficking. The acronym is FOSTA, which includes the Stop Enabling Sex Traffickers Act, which both give law enforcement and victims new tools to fight sex trafficking. Think about your kids, folks. Trump's working to protect your children and your women. Number 10, he signed a bill to require airports to provide spaces for breastfeeding moms. I'm sure his daughter had influence there. Number 11, the 25% lowest paid Americans enjoyed a 4.5% income boost in November of 2019. That outpaced the 2.9% for the highest paid workers. So this is the middle class that's taken care of. The Democrats will tell you, oh, the middle class, they're the ones we got to take care of. Joe Biden gets in, middle class is going to be taxed. You watch. Number 12, low-wage workers are benefiting from higher minimum wages and from corporations that are increasing entry-level pay. Even without the minimum wage, they're doing it. I remember hearing, oh, this company is increasing the pay for these people. They're doing it because Trump is reducing regulations, reducing corporate taxes, and this is where we, the middle class, benefit as employees. Businesses, you know what kills me? It's the people say, oh, you got to tax the rich. Okay, the rich people, what do they do with their money? If they're not making more money in business, which employs people, they're investing in the stock market, which invest in businesses that employ people. So the whole deal is they're shoveling crap at you and you're buying it. They don't even know how economics works, probably because they never worked for a living. They've been on the dole of government welfare their whole lives. Bernie Sanders, I think he was on welfare before he got into office. Okay. Number 13, Trump signed the biggest wilderness protection and conservation bill in a decade and designated 375,000 acres as protected land. All these people that are conservationists got to love that one. Let me jump around here a little bit. Number 25, we'll provide HIV prevention drugs for free to 200,000 uninsured patients per year for 11 years. I think he likes the homosexual population and those that are prone to HIV. I'm going to jump again. In 2018, President Trump signed the groundbreaking First Step Act, a criminal justice bill which enacted reforms to make our justice system fair and help former inmates successfully return to society. Does it sound like he wants the pipeline to continue to go from school to jail? No. He's trying to help people find jobs. They have apprenticeships where businesses come in and train inmates so when they get out, they can have jobs and be productive citizens again. Number 30, the First Step Back reforms addressed inequities in sentencing laws that disproportionately harm black Americans and reform mandatory minimums that create unfair outcomes. I remember him saying to the black community, what the heck do you have to lose? You know, we're getting close to the end of the time, and I got 4 more pages I could read you of Trump's successes that help you and me. But the Democrats don't want that. They want you to hate Trump. You know, I remember when Malcolm X, you could say a radical, but he was forced to be a radical because he and the black race was being abused by our government. And you know who abused them? The Democratic Party. He even said, look this up. Look up a famous saying by Malcolm X about the Democratic Party. And I think I'm quoting it, if not paraphrasing it. He said that you keep voting for a party that promises you everything before the election and gives you nothing after the election, and you're a chump. And you continue to do it year after year. You're chumps and you're a disgrace to your race. He knew the Democratic Party. Why don't we understand? It's because if a lie's told long enough and often enough, people start believing it. So if you want to know what the truth is, go to One American News Network, go to Newsmax, get the real truth. I don't even like Fox anymore because I think they're getting squirrely. So, okay, folks, I got plenty of information here to support our president. If he doesn't get in, we're in deep trouble. And I got an article here, and what his deal is, jobs, jobs, jobs. And that's exactly what we need to help people lift everybody up. So, listen, if you want to consider what's going on in the Republican Party, come down to our office. Well, here's a phone number at the RPDA headquarters, 575-523-8683, and the address is 2801 Missouri Avenue, Suite 4. It's the Bonita Plaza between Telshore and the Highway 25. Come on down, come in, meet the folks. I think you'll be pleased. And hopefully, I'm praying that our president, Donald Trump, does come out of this election as the winner, because we all win if he wins. Okay, folks, that's it for today. I'll be back next week to do some more ranting and with more information. Take care. I'll see you next week.